Alright, in this video we're going to look at how to figure out whether the two lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. And the key thing we're going to remember is that parallel lines have the same slope. Perpendicular lines have negative reciprocal slopes. And if they don't have either, then they're not parallel and they're not perpendicular. So, looking at two lines here, first thing we're going to want to do is get these into slope-intercept form. It's going to make things easier for us. So, slope-intercept form is always y equals mx plus b, right? Y equals mx plus b, and m is our slope. So what we want to do is get the y by itself. We'll subtract 10x from both sides here, so we end up with 5y equals negative 10x plus 5. And then we'll divide everything by 5. And that means we're dividing every term by 5 here, so we end up with y equals negative 2x plus 1. So our slope in this case is negative 2. Alright, over here we're going to have subtract 16 from both sides, so we end up with negative x minus 16 equals 2y. I'll flip that around. I've got 2y equals negative x minus 16. Sorry, just so I have y on one side. Okay, now we'll divide everything by 2. I get y equals negative 1/2 x minus 8. So my slope in this case is negative 1/2, always the coefficient of x. So, looking at these two, I've got m equals 2, m equals negative 1/2. They're not the same. The slopes, so the lines aren't parallel. And they aren't negative reciprocals. They're reciprocals, right? Reciprocal just means you flip the fraction, but they're not negative reciprocals because they're the same sign. Okay, so these are going to be neither. That means they'll intersect, but they won't intersect at a right angle. Alright, let's look at another example. 8x minus 6y is 42. 4y equals 9 minus 3x. So we'll get y by itself. Sorry, what did I just do? Oh, plus 42. Oops. Right? And then I will divide by negative 6. So I get y equals 4/3. Right, I'm simplifying. Negative 8 over negative 6 is 8 over 6, which is 4 over 3. Plus 42 divided by negative 6 is negative 7. So my slope in this case, oops, got the x there. My slope in this case is 4/3. Always the coefficient of x. Doesn't matter what order you write things in, it just matters. It's always the coefficient of x. I always put the x term before the constant because it just keeps things simple for me. Alright, so 4y equals 9 minus 3x. So, divide everything by 4. Y equals 9/4 minus 3/4 x. Now, here, I usually put the x term first. It's not first here, so I just leave it, because all I care about is the coefficient of x. That's going to be my m. That's my slope. So slope m is negative 3/4. Okay, so here's one slope, here's the other. You can see that they're reciprocals because the fractions are flipped, and they're negative reciprocals because one is positive and the other is negative. That means that these are going to be perpendicular lines. That means that they intersect and at a right angle. Okay, let's try another one. We'll take this, we'll get 8y equals 8x. Just adding 8x to both sides, divide by 8, and we get y equals x. Don't be confused, right? The fact that there's the coefficient here is going to be 1, so our slope is 1. There's no y-intercept because the y-intercept is 0. Okay, over here we'll get negative 4y equals negative 8x. Divide that by negative 4, and we get y equals 2x. Right? Negative 8 divided by negative 4 is 2. So our slope in this case is 2. Again, our y-intercept turns out to be 0. So we've got slope of 1, slope of 2, so those are neither parallel nor perpendicular. They're not the same, they're not negative reciprocals of each other. Okay, so those lines intersect, these two lines would intersect, but not at right angles. All right, last example, 3x minus y equals 5, 2y equals 6x plus 8. So we'll get negative y equals negative 3x plus 5. And divide by negative 1, or multiply by negative 1, same deal. 3x minus 5, so my slope in this case is 3. Okay, over here, 2y equals 6x plus 8. I'm going to divide everything by 2, and I get y equals 3x plus 4. So my slope here is 3. Okay, so now look at these. These are the same slope. Same slope means parallel lines, right? Parallel means they don't cross. Why don't they cross? Because they're going in the same direction. The direction of the line is the slope. So same slope equals parallel, and these lines are parallel.